they shouldn't be counted in a census of people. How did we deviate from this simple principle?
If I understand your question, Congressman, the first aspect of the census is voluntary compliance with it. Every American is required to answer it by law, but the deal that Congress has made is that that information will not be disclosed.
In today's hearing, lawmakers confronted two of the nation's most contentious constitutional questions: who counts as a citizen and who counts in America's official population. First, the discussion centered on the 14th Amendment Citizenship Clause, which grants citizenship to those born in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof. Members debated whether this language applies to children born to undocumented immigrants. Some argued the Supreme Court has never directly ruled on this specific scenario, suggesting the issue may soon return to the courts or even require congressional action or a constitutional amendment. The second major issue was the integrity of the U.S. Census. While the census is meant to be a straightforward count of real people, officials explained that millions do not respond, forcing the use of follow-up visits, administrative records, and statistical modeling. Critics warned that these methods, especially new tools like differential privacy, may introduce uncertainty into population counts, potentially shifting congressional seats and political power. Together, the hearing highlighted a fundamental tension in American democracy: how the nation defines membership and how it measures the people who shape its future.
Some of that explanation as necessary, kind of on both sides where it's appropriate. With that, I would be recognizing the gentleman from California, my friend Mr. McClintock.
Thank you. Mr. Rodriguez, if the 14th Amendment actually confers automatic citizenship to anyone who's born here, as the Democrats contend, seems to me it would have said all persons born or naturalized in the United States are citizens of the United States, period. That's pretty clear. But as you know, that's not what it says. It says all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States. Well, what does that mean?
Well, the courts have interpreted subject to the jurisdiction thereof in other contexts for purposes of due process or equal protection, and it's certainly been broader than naturalized or legal residents. So it's still.
But has the Supreme Court ever rendered a decision on whether it applies to those who are illegally in this country, who have never sworn allegiance to it, and have defied its laws to be here in the first place, and under its laws are subject to deportation as soon as encountered? I realize the ARC decision was rendered 127 years ago, but that applied to legal immigrants who accepted the jurisdiction of the United States by obeying our immigration laws and who'd taken up legal permanent residence subject to a treaty ratified by the Senate.
Right, there seems to be no directly on-point Supreme Court decision that says that the children of illegal immigrants are or are not citizens.
So perhaps we're due to have that at some point decided by the Supreme Court or decided by the people through constitutional amendment or statute, am I correct?
It does seem like it will be heard in the near future.
Mr. Mayfield, it seems to me that a census is neither science nor statistics. A census is counting real people. People have names, dates of birth, addresses, and other identifying information. How can it possibly be that we include in our census any count without names and such identifying characteristics? It seems to me if you don't have a person, they shouldn't be counted in a census of people. How did we deviate from this simple principle?
If I understand your question, Congressman, the first aspect of the census is voluntary compliance with it. Every American is required to answer it by law, but the deal that Congress has made is that that information will not be disclosed. In fact, it cannot even be subpoenaed by a court. That's just how tight the information is kept. So approximately 67% of Americans voluntarily filled out the short form, which is what is your household data as of April 1st, 2020. So for the remaining third of the country, the census endeavors to learn that information. And so it does so.
You knock on the door, you get a count of the people who actually live there, you enter them on the census register. That's been done since time immemorial. But I'm reading now of statistical errors that shifted the apportionment of congressional seats away from Republican states toward Democratic states. Now, how can that be if we're actually counting real people?
It's important to remember, Congressman, that several members have alluded to so-called errors after the fact. The census does what's called the post-enumeration survey. That is modeling. That is statistical guess.
Well, how did we reach a point where we're guessing in the census? Either you're a real person or you're not. If you're not, you don't belong in the census. If you are, we count you.
Well, as Justice Scalia pointed out in Department of Commerce versus the House of Representatives, it's imperfect science, enumeration, but it's better than anything else we've got.
It's not science. It's a simple matter of counting real people.
Well, Congressman, there are many people who are very hard to reach. For instance, homeless people, which the census works very hard to count. There are people
So
who are
you
mobile.
work very hard to find them, but if you can't find them, you don't make them up. That's not a real census. That's guesswork. Mr. Miller, any thoughts?
Yeah, it is extremely important that the data that is collected, at least the sensitive top secret version of this data, be highly accurate, and that we don't just invent people, because like former processes have just swapped people. The new process literally deconstructs a person and every characteristic, and then just in the aggregate creates them elsewhere in a whole bunch of different profiles all over the map. It's a complete mess. There's all sorts of constitutional problems with the way we've done it that have impacted redistricting. And there are some arguments that if you don't want to count illegal aliens for the purposes of apportionment, because your argument is that they are not under the political jurisdiction of the United States of America at the time of birth, that would impact apportionment, because if you're using differential privacy, you may not know, we don't know what they're doing with that characteristic data. Is it actually adding up all the way to the top accurately or not? And the biggest problem with all of this is we assume it is. It may not be impacting apportionment, but it's all top secret. We don't have eyes on it. We can't verify it. No one can go right now and say that 100% yes, all of this data, even the characteristic data, let alone the population data, is accurate. And that's a huge problem.
Thank the gentleman from California. I will now recognize the gentlelady from Washington, Ms. Jayapal.